and I'm the founder of Lone Design Club. And today we have a very exciting guest, Ooooota Adepo, and she's going to tell us a little bit about herself.
Hi, so my name is Ooooota Adepo. My name has 5 O's in it, and a T and an A. It's
Amazing.
an acronym. So just to cut this story short, when I was born, lots of people in my family, my extended family, named me, and my father took the first letter of 7 of the names. There were more, and made a name. So that's where Ooooota comes from. So each letter actually stands for a name, and they all mean something allegorical in my language, which is very sort of like, it's a very sort of metaphorical language. I'm Yoruba, I'm from Nigeria.
Amazing.
And so I would describe myself as an entrepreneur. I definitely have, so I have a finance background, an art background, and creative interests, and I think that sort of reflects in my pursuits. So I'm all about just solving problems, be they investment related or just, a problem in society. I wouldn't call myself an activist because I feel like that term is overused, but I do have issues I feel very passionately about, and I do what I can to, raise my voice and raise awareness around them if I'm given the platform to do so. So I've spoken about what I feel are problems in the immigration and travel and trade system between Africa and the rest of the world, and how I feel, in my opinion, a lot of it kind of infringes on the human rights of certain people. I have a TED Talk about that on YouTube. You can go ahead and watch that if you Google my name or YouTube my name. So I do that when I can, and I also write about issues I feel are dear to my heart, issues I also feel strongly about.
And you're also so you've got a new e-commerce platform coming out, the Pink Taxi.
Exactly. So my e-commerce platform is basically allowing women to support women, which is why I was really interested in participating in this panel discussion and just being engaged with you guys, because I really like what you're doing.
Thank you.
And I just feel like it's important for women to support women. I think that women are creative, we are business savvy, we have great ideas, and we know what's best for ourselves. We have the perspective, we have like an internal perspective of our lifestyle and our interests. We understand the way we're evolving. We know that we're different from women who existed 10, 20, 30 years ago. Our priorities are different, and I feel like we're in the best position to create for ourselves and to create solutions for our nuanced needs. So that's what we're addressing on the Pink Taxi. We're assembling brands that are value conscious, so brands that are big on sustainability, diversity, and creating for women who live modern lives, not for a prototype of a woman. And allowing women to purchase through the system, and by doing so just be a part of a larger female community of business women and entrepreneurs and people who are trying to do better in the world and by the way they consume. Yeah.
No, that is really interesting, and just like you said, it's something that's very important to us here at Lone Design Club. And by chance, or I guess accidentally, we found that we have over 85% of the designers we work with are women. And one of the big challenges they face is approaching business. It's very different being a woman and being in this modern age. It's very kind of male-centric. The amount of pictures I go to, and it's suits and balding men, and you walk in, and the minute you're already down a few pegs, you're a woman, you're young, all these things. But there is such a sense of unity and that support to one another, which is such a crucial. We're at that crucial time right now. So for us, it's great to have you here, because it's that sense of camaraderie and kind of.
I genuinely feel it. Like, I'm not here just because, but my passions are very much aligned with the direction you guys are going in. So
it's amazing. And so I've heard that you had a role in Wonder Woman.
Oh my God!
I was
asked about this afternoon. That's really,
because it feels quite like empowering.
So it's funny. I've done a lot of things. I've kind of been involved in different sectors and different industries. But I feel like, as disparate as they may seem, they all kind of align with my my value of just being pro women, empowering women, speaking up for issues that I feel like are important but don't get enough of a platform, and just creatively solving problems. So in art, I did so with Cross Culture Creative. It was basically a consultancy that helped people collect contemporary art, contemporary African art particularly, because in the last 5 to 10 years, say 7 to 5 years, it's really taken off. And I felt that it was really, and I still do feel it's really important for Africans to be at the helm of the collection of an acquisition of contemporary African art versus it being from a Western perspective. I think it's important that we are integrated into the process from start to finish.
Definitely.
And also encouraging investments between Africa and Europe. So I speak Yoruba and English, but I learned French in school. I taught myself Spanish and a bit of Italian. It comes easier than you would think once you understand one Latin language. It's not that difficult. But I feel like just because I've gone to international schools from a very young age and always have been engaging with people from all over the world, I have an international perspective. And I think that that lends itself to, business relationships and kind of creatively solving problems, but having a global mindset whilst doing so. So I felt that my background, my experiences globally, and my faculty with languages just kind of lent something to being able to solve problems between parties that might not know how to necessarily discuss with one another. So I guess that's just an example of me problem solving creatively. But as a woman, I think, I am aware that there are few of us out there, even though there are so many of us who are capable of being in powerful positions. So I'm aware that, whenever I speak, I feel like I am speaking on behalf of Africans. Obviously, I don't want to generalize and make myself a spokesperson of any group, but I feel like I have a duty to represent a demographic or people positively, and same with women too. I just feel very passionately about women's issues. I feel like, it's just common sense. And I think that there is room for advocacy. There's room for, being a feminist and saying you're a feminist, wearing badges, marching and, joining groups, and that's all great. But I feel like at the end of the day, power and respect is given according to where the money is going. So when more women are in positions of authority, when more women are at the heads of businesses, then naturally they will be recognized as they should be. And I feel like the imbalance of like, just sex relations will correct itself that way. So that's why I feel like, with the pink taxi, it's just, I support women, but I feel like once you can create a system that really, really empowers women, then the system just corrects itself that way.
And do you feel, are there any other organizations or anything that's really inspiring you at the moment in London, say, or even Africa and Europe, where you're seeing this and the growth? Because obviously it is, is growing. I think there is that sense of camaraderie and support, and it is getting better. But I don't know, anyone or anything that's maybe inspiring you a lot at the moment?
Not necessarily at the moment. I know that, just as a hashtag and what's trending on in popular culture and social media, I feel like, there is this push for equality across sexes and gender non-conforming, people, just across the human spectrum, which I definitely support, and it inspires me. With regards to women, I'm just constantly inspired by women who do amazing work and who are unapologetic about how tough they need to be to get a message across, to get a business off the ground, to start a movement. So somebody who really, really inspires me is Ayaan Hirsi Ali. I don't know if you know of her, but she is Somali. At least she was born in Somalia and then became a Dutch PM and then moved to the US to work with a think tank. But she's had a really interesting journey. And she's quite controversial. Yeah. But I love how unapologetic she is about her values. Her values, I mean, if you kind of, research her, she was born a Muslim, decided to step out of the faith because she felt like it was restricting her, and then got into politics and, just kind of created a name for herself. But what I admire most about her is just her approach, which has just been, trailblazing. And she has, in the process, she definitely came up against, challenges culturally within her family, socially, as an immigrant, as a refugee. She moved to the Netherlands as a refugee and seeked asylum. But through the process, she's just been very sort of steadfast, and I don't know that she's recognized as a feminist, but women like that inspire me.
Yeah, that is incredible. And what about your roles in the fashion industry? So you've worked with Amanda Wakeley, Tom Brown.
Yeah.
How has that come into play?
So I have had a really interesting relationship with the fashion industry. I often tell people when they ask me that I flirt with the fashion industry without kind of getting into too much of a serious relationship with it. And
that sounds like a good.
It's healthy.
I was going to say that's healthy.
Exactly, because as a creative person, because I am very business-minded, I am socially conscious, but I am ultimately a creative person. I see things in color. And as a creative, I feel like I prefer being behind the camera than in front of it. Yeah. But there are a lot of designers who I admire and who do incredible work. So Tom Brown, for instance, is a designer who has an incredibly detailed aesthetic, and when I look at a collection of his, I feel like I'm at the V&A or at a museum. It just is so well thought out, and I also like that there is a gender bending theme to his work and his style. And I've always been a fan of androgyny. I don't know, it's just my thing. Like I like the nuance and the in-between spaces. Yeah. But he does that so well. So when they had a campaign, I was approached by them, and I just happily accepted, because the whole team is just such a well-oiled machine, and everybody is so invested in the brand from start to finish. So definitely admire Tom Brown. Amanda Wakeley's lovely too. So they did a Wakeley Women series with Laura Bailey as the photographer, and just featured women who are kind of doing interesting things in their various fields. And I feel very lucky to have been approached by them. And she's also somebody who, Amanda Wakeley, is she's someone who is thoughtful about the female aesthetic, what flatters the female form. Cashmere, silks, they're all fabrics that are just easy and sexy and feminine, and I think that she's a thoughtful designer. So I've always said to myself that when I do work with designers, even though I'm not actively involved in the fashion industry, I would like for them to be really, really thoughtful about the work they produce and the people who they want to collaborate with on the front and the back end.
Definitely. Yeah. That's really interesting. And so how do you feel that so you're obviously the fashion, it makes a lot of sense, but tell us a little bit about how you feel the flirting with the fashion industry crosses over into the work that you're doing. With the initial venture.
Well, I think it's been tricky, because I don't come from a fashion background. I studied economics and international relations and real estate finance and urban planning.
Wow.
So I don't really, I don't have the education, but I have always had an innate sensibility for style and fashion and things that are creative. It's always come extremely naturally to me, to the point where people thought that I would go in that direction from a very young age. But for me, it was always like breathing.
Yeah.
So because I'm not from the industry, working with the Pink Taxi has meant that I've had to kind of introduce myself to the industry in a different way. So we don't only focus on apparel. Apparel is only one of our segments. We cover beauty, accessories, athleisure, a lot of which still fits into general sort of fashion and style, but it's broader. And because I'm coming from an angle that is value conscious, so sustainability, diversity, modernity, I feel like I lead more with that than with the fact that I'm trying to, be another player in the fashion industry. So I think that because I understand to some extent the way the fashion industry works, because I know a couple of people in the fashion industry and sort of the arts industry, which kind of, interweaves with the fashion industry to some extent, it's made conversations more fluid, a bit easier. A lot of my friends are designers, models, directors, so to some extent I am kind of a part of the community already. But I also have an outsider perspective. I have a business perspective.
That's, for me, that's what sounds like a really beautiful element of what you're doing is you're, like you said, flirting, which is such a great way. You're flirting with the fashion industry. But you're coming at it from such a different perspective. It's so much more fresh and it's so personal and intimate, which is, I think, so special. And I think a lot of women can relate to. It's not just another store or another, like, a curation of brands, but it's you're coming from a place of true meaning and value, and that's super important to you as well.
Absolutely.
That I feel like we can all get on board with and relate to.
Definitely, because I'm running a startup, so I have to think with a tech hat on. I have to think as a business just starting out, and at the same time, I'm kind of trying to engage an industry that is very much already established, but from a different angle. So, and I also feel like maybe women will relate to what I'm doing, because even though they might not be directly involved in fashion, we all wear clothes. We all, to some extent, consider our appearances in the way we dress ourselves. Exactly. So, we all have an understanding to some extent of fashion and have that as part of our lives. That's where I'm coming from, just as a consumer, but as somebody who's trying to create something, a new type of interesting business from a different angle.
No, it's amazing.
Thank you.
So I guess that's pretty much everything. On the last note, is there anything? So you've got the Pink Taxi that we should all watch out for. Is there anything else that we should kind of watch out for?
I might be writing. I am writing, but so I guess just stay tuned.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know, just stay tuned. Pink Taxi and YouTube.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you so much for having me.